Jenny hadn't conceived a second child in 5 years of marriage, and she suffered endless mistreatment from her in-laws. Every morning before dawn, she had to go into the kitchen to make breakfast, but her husband's grandmother kept scattering red beans on her, first, to drive away bad luck, and second, to beg the gods to let her quickly give birth to a son, to continue the family line. However, as soon as the grandmother finished, the mother-in-law took over. She angrily accused Jenny of mixing rice and peas together, because the women in their family weren't worthy of eating peas. Later, when Jenny conceived a second son, the child's mother and grandmother changed their tune completely, jokingly trying to make Jenny happy every day. After Jenny successfully gave birth to her second son, the grandmother's attitude changed drastically again. All the complaints she had made before were completely forgotten. She considered Jenny the lucky star of the family, even saying that Jenny's mother wasn't a vengeful ghost, but a great benefactor, because it was all thanks to her dream that Jenny safely gave birth to a boy for the family. Jenny had experienced the hardships of her childhood, the grief of her mother's death, and the despair of being powerless against her own fate in her youth. After getting married as an adult, she endured the immense pressure of making a living. At this point, Jenny's life finally seemed to be on track, but a few years later, a storm caused her the greatest sorrow of her life. That day, the entire village was shrouded in a tense, oppressive atmosphere. But in Jenny's house, there was still a momentary sense of normalcy. Her two sons were eating, but the younger son's eyes were fixed on the candy jar on the corner of the table. This little boy, only 3 years old, had one greatest wish: to eat a sweet candy every day. That was the child's greatest joy. But this small joy became a lifelong regret that Jenny could never make up for. The little boy tiptoed to reach the candy jar, but his little hand slipped, and the candy jar fell to the ground. Jenny suppressed her anger. She squatted down, quickly picking up the candies on the ground, while scolding her little son. The child was frightened by his mother's tone and cried, but Jenny's attention was entirely focused on cleaning up the mess. She didn't even look up at the child. Just then, a neighbor ran in frantically. It turned out that her eldest daughter was still riding her bicycle by the sea. She was at a rebellious age, and usually loved to ride her bicycle wildly by the sea. At this moment, the waves by the sea must have been very strong. Jenny was anxious, and hurried to find her daughter. When she passed the gate of the yard, she happened to meet the aunt next door. She quickly asked the aunt to help look after the children at home. At that time, the aunt was dozing off, and was startled awake by Jenny's voice. In her daze, she just subconsciously waved her hand, and didn't hear what Jenny said at all. Jenny was anxious to find her child and didn't think much of it. She turned around and hurried away. But when she found her daughter and returned home, she saw that the aunt was still lying down sleeping. The house was empty, and there was no sign of her two sons. Jenny immediately panicked. A premonition of disaster instantly swept over her. She shouted the names of her two sons everywhere, but what happened next made Jenny collapse.